So if you could just tell me who you are and what you're doing here today.
Okay, well I'm Richard Morris and I've been invited here by Joanna to be shown round and to learn something about the newspaper business. I think I've been invited because I'm a fairly regular blogger on the Birmingham Post website.
That's right. I mentioned to you at the beginning that I was a bit scared of meeting you today. When I explained to you, were you surprised that I said
Well,
that?
I was surprised because I don't think of myself as particularly scary. However, having had a discussion with Mark while you were getting the coffees, it certainly made me realise that some of the posts I put up have been probably unnecessarily combative and unnecessarily negative. So I can quite see where you got that impression from. Yes.
But obviously when you were writing them, that wasn't in your mind at all, was it?
Well, I think it's a fairly well observed phenomenon now that people are more or less considerate when writing emails or blogging than they would be face to face. And I think sometimes it's easy to succumb to that and perhaps overdo it a bit. And you've only got to look at any blog, haven't you? Flame wars, it all comes up, and because people sort of start losing their cool. And I think it's if you're going to be a successful blogger or contributor at least to blogs, you need to moderate what you say and think about how it affects others.
You were mentioning as well that there's been a bit of a change with how personal people are on and putting stuff in about their own lives into online. That you saw was a bit of a change.
Yes, I started contributing under a pseudonym, which I've kept. A lot of ways I wish I hadn't, because I think, why not be open? I think we all had fears about being stalked and getting abusive emails and all that. Don't think that's really going to be really an issue because your email address is still private. For myself, I'm not too interested in reading what somebody had for lunch, but I can see others might.
Would you ever be tempted in putting up what you've had for lunch on your Twitter account?
No, well, I used to actually, but that was because of personal circumstances, and I essentially felt lonely. Actually, it's useful to look back because it was a bit like a diary. I mean, I think that's perhaps an unrealised use of Twitter. It is an online diary just for you, and I do look back, 6 months ago, and think, did I really cook that? And did I really eat that? So there's no point putting stuff up if nobody's going to read it, and I didn't get a single response to any of my recipes, so I stopped doing it. Personal information is, I think, inherently boring, and so no, I'm not. I've thought about starting a blog and talking about my interests, which is primarily jazz, but there's plenty of jazz blogs. World doesn't need another jazz blog.
Might do.
No, I don't think so.
Or someone learning saxophone.
Well, yes. Again, I suppose if you learning and you put up your experiences, you would talk to other people about their experiences. But I'm convinced such a thing already exists. I just haven't found it yet. There's not much new under the blogging world, is there?
One person I talked to once told me that there's two different ways to see a blog. One is that it's publishing something that may or may not be of interest to other people, sort of like you publish a book or a newspaper. And another way of seeing it is that it's having a chat with friends or people who may share your interests online. So it may not be new under the sun, but it might be a little space where you can have a conversation about it. Is that?
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's probably a bit of both, isn't it? I contribute to some music blogs where I've got particular interest. I've heard a record I can comment on or recommend a record. Yeah, and you sometimes do meet people who've heard the same record or something like that. I don't find they're often sustained though. They just come and go. Flitter rather than Twitter. It's good at that one.
That's a nice one. And then about the general direction newspapers are going, particularly the Birmingham Post, because you've been there right from the start with the blogs.
Yes, and I do read the Post most days now. I've got to say, I don't think it's as good as it was. There seems to be less news in it now. I can't believe there's not that much going on in Birmingham that the paper is filled with. Well, it's primarily a business paper now, it seems to me. I was talking to Mark about the lack of Birmingham City Council stories. It seems to me you don't really.
We are a business paper.
Yeah, you don't really dig into what's going on in BCC apart from Bordeaux. Some opportunities missed there, I think, like Voyager and single status, for example, two massive issues in Birmingham City Council which haven't really had much coverage.
How do you feel about the online side of things? How would you like to see that develop?
Well, I don't think the page layout is particularly helpful. I think that when you look at the Guardian, you see a sort of something that's really good. I think your page layout is often very static. I mean, I'm always struck by the whenever I log on, there always seem to be those three women from the Stourbridge wine circle holding up a glass of wine. I don't know how long that picture's been there, but several weeks it seems like. Probably not, but it just seems like. I don't think, for me, the pages are not active enough, and maybe that just reflects what's in the newspaper. I know there are some technical problems, but if you want to keep people coming back to the you see, if you buy a newspaper, you do it out of habit. You pick up from news agents or whatever. It's part of your routine. Going to a blog slightly different. To a newspaper slightly different. You have to make a conscious decision to do it. And when you get there, you think, oh, I'm going to update the page again, and that was yesterday's news. So that to me is actually quite a big issue. The blog. The newspaper pages seem to run behind the print pages. There doesn't seem to me to be simultaneous updating.
It's something we're working on at the moment, so hopefully
Well, that would certainly, I think, bring people in. If they felt they weren't getting 6 hours old news, they were getting. Because really, it should be ahead of the print edition, really, shouldn't it? There should be stuff on the Post web page which isn't in the paper. And I'm not sure that always happens.
As a print reader of the paper, would you feel cheated if stories were up on the website before they were printed in paper?
Not at all. Because I wouldn't always look at the website. No, I mean, I buy the Guardian every day, and I look at the Guardian website every day, and it never bothers me. The order in which things appear, because there's always a slightly different slant. I think the context is different.